it's kind of like psychology mixed with entertainment. That's why I loved it so much, because it was entertaining and I was also getting into the minds of people, and I had to like learn about why people would buy and how words can affect that person into buying something. Hey guys, welcome to the 52 Launch podcast. I'm Sarah, the copywriter here at 52 Launch, and today I'm with Pollyana. We're going to talk about her role a little bit before we dive into our topic for today. Pollyana?
Awesome. Hello, everyone. I guess here at 52 Launch, I am kind of the marketing coordinator. I make sure things are moving smoothly within the production and marketing side. Schedule photo shoots, in constant contact with clients, and just acting as like a second hand to both Evan and Sarah as well.
Things wouldn't run if Pollyana didn't help us run them, basically. But today, Pollyana is going to help me talk a little bit about copyright versus content, a little bit on how and why that is important to our business and other businesses, and how they can also cause imposter syndrome when we talk about marketing in general.
Yeah, I guess, well, let's start off, Sarah, with kind of what is the difference between copyright and content? Yes, they may seem like two different topics, but they kind of do interchange within each other. So if you would give us a little rundown.
Yeah. I remember when I started copywriting, I really did not know the difference between the two. It took me kind of a while to distinguish the difference. I think I started out more of a content writer because I was very into blogging, and I created my entire website on like journalism kind of writing skills. And then when I started here at 52 Launch, I had to become more persuasive and really turn that writing skill into more of a salesy skill, which I didn't have that much experience with. But writing is something that can change so much over time that it was really easy to manipulate that type of wording that I was using before into copyright. So when we're talking about copyright is more of the art of persuasion, using your skills and words to make someone believe that they need your product. And then when we're talking about content, we're going back to that type of blog idea. So it's really important to entertain and also educate that audience. So they do go hand in hand, and without one or the other, you're not going to come across as a great marketer. So it's kind of like psychology mixed with entertainment. That's why I loved it so much, because it was entertaining and I was also getting into the minds of people, and I had to like learn about why people would buy and how words can affect that person into buying something.
Yeah, kind of like creating that need, that someone doesn't necessarily know they have.
Yeah.
With, content and copywriting. Do you have like sort of any more examples on?
Yeah. So this podcast itself actually is content. A lot of businesses will hire strictly content writers when they have their website copy already done, or know how to sell a page to someone, and they already have that why and how, and they need something to spice up their pages a little bit to resonate with a customer. So a great example of this is BuzzFeed does this like incredibly well. Like BuzzFeed will create surveys like why do you think you're gonna be this Disney character, or what type of Harry Potter character are you? And though that's content for BuzzFeed, it draws people to want to read their other articles. Articles in general are content. So a lot of companies will have, I think a great example of this is I had a friend that wrote for a financial company, and finance can be very like bland and pretty easy to sell to someone because everyone needs financial help. But she would write these articles saying like 5 tips into improving your financial breakdown, or how can you go on your vacation at the end of the year. And these things would show up on Google, and people would be like, oh yeah, like I'd love to go to Florida at the end of the year, but how am I going to afford that on the budget that I'm living on? And after reading that article, they would go click on the website to lead them to a financial advisor. So that was content. The copyright on that page, once you get to that landing page of that financial advisor, would be like, we sell you this for this amount of packages. You need us to go on that trip, or you need us to help you become successful in your 5-year plan of buying a house or something like that. So they definitely come hand in hand. I like to think of them as like left brain versus right brain. Mm-hmm. I think that the left brain is more content, and the right brain is copyright. Yeah, so that definitely helps me out a lot there.
And just going off that, like, what would you say would be like the top 3 or top 2 must-haves for a good content?
Wow, that's a great question, Pollyana. Great content. I think great content has to do when you read something and you feel like you've learned something. Or you read something and you feel an emotion to that. Mm-hmm. Something that makes you want to learn more about the topic at hand, and drives you to going to a website, or drives you to researching for a product that will help you. I can't really nail it down to like 3 ingredients that are going to create great content. Content, I think, is like a lot trickier than copyright, because you have to be creative and you have to be educational. And copyright is, well, this is my product, or this is my business, and this is why you need my business. And it's very like laid out. I think a lot of people are like afraid to become copywriters, so they become bloggers. So like, I mean, if you look at Instagram or anyone nowadays, everyone's like, I'm going to be a blogger. Like, that's what I thought after college. I was like, I'll just blog. Like, I'll just write about fashion. But it's so much harder than I think a lot of people expect. And they don't realize that they're just going to become copywriters or marketers down the line if they've already built that skill set.
Yeah, correct. And why would someone need both within their business to be successful?
Yeah, so a successful business, of course, you have the back end of knowing your statistics and your data that's showing your conversion rates or your ROAS, or all of the terms that create a marketing team. But you can't gather that data without drawing people to create that data. So I think words can really connect with people. Same with imagery. Like imagery, they always say like a picture is 1,000 words and everything. And I think in this day and age, a lot of people don't want to read. So everyone wants to read in bullet point form, I always say.
That quick little Instagram caption.
Yeah. And that's so much harder than like writing a paragraph. So becoming like really savvy about like writing 3 words, it's going to grab someone's attention. And you're going to do it in an educational way, in a creative way, are going to drive your business so much more. Earlier, I was actually looking up body positive ads that have been out there, and it's insane how like companies can use one word, just a single word, and it makes you feel like a completely different person. And to me, that's like just so professional and so amazing that they can like just come across that way for all their consumers. And boom, you have like an amazing campaign from just one word. So yeah, it's super important to a business because it creates that brand identity and hopefully connects to your audience and creates brand loyalty.
Which will lead to better sales.
Yeah.
And, the more loyal customers you have, the better you will do well off.
Yeah. We're all here for sales. At the end of the day, it's about the moolah.
Yes. Closer?
Yeah.
Like this?
Yes. Just a little bit closer.
I mean, you tell me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Where were we at? It's all about that money.
Technical difficulties.
Money.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can talk about how, copywriters and creating content can also feel like an imposter syndrome at the same time. We can go back to talking about those blogs. Like so many women nowadays create blogs.
So when you talk about blogs, do you mean like these influencers, like these on Instagram where we are following religiously and looking at their content every day, or just, a blog where it's that Instagram page along with a website they do post articles on that they write themselves or that they find?
I'm talking about people that I think during the pandemic, it was a great time to, sit back, relax on your couch, create a blog because you're kind of bored and you're wondering where that can take you. Because there's so many people that you're talking about, famous people that or have become famous from these blogs.
Yeah.
There's traveling the world people. I don't even know how they do that. I would love to figure that out though.
Sponsors.
Yeah, seriously. Influencers they've figured out how to write and then have a business come for them, thinking that they've created this entire platform so well that, why don't we give them a product and they can travel the world with our product and people are going to buy it because they want to be like them. So it's kind of creating an envy that a lot of people are driving a lot of people to start doing something like that. I think a lot of people think that if they start this blog, they're gonna get super big like these influencers. And it's just so much harder than that because you do need the technical side of it and you do need to have some type of conversion and selling something, and it's really hard to sell writing nowadays. So I'm not really sure how they do it, to be honest. I'm not sure how. I think companies just say hey, you're a really good writer, come write for us, and then they become freelancers or contractors for all these companies.
Okay, so going off that topic of the influencers and how they do write their own copy, and most of them do have their own blogs, and let's say they never worked within this field, do you think they might be missing something,
some type of learning?
Yeah, some type of skill set that they would have learned working with a major company.
Definitely. That's what I was feeling at first because and that's why I wanted to join 52 Launch so badly, because I felt I needed someone to teach me. And I think it's less about having a mentor or a professor or some type of teacher, and more about just getting it out there and getting the work done, because then you become your own type of mentor or teacher. Because I look back at my work from 5 months ago and I'm oh my God, if I could only have told myself not to do this, So I think with writing, it's something that you can only teach yourself. And when you're obsessed with it, you start listening to podcasts. I listen to a podcast every day before coming into work and leaving work about how to become a better writer. And a lot of them are freelancers. And they did the same thing. They had no one really telling them what to do, and they kind of just figured out what worked for them and what got them sales. But within that, like, imposter syndrome is like huge. And I think it doesn't even have to do with just copywriters or content writers. Imposter syndrome is huge with like designers or like startup businesses.
Yeah. Could you expand a little bit more or explain what imposter syndrome is?
Yeah. So imposter syndrome is having some type of self-doubt because you didn't have the specific training or education to do that type of field. And I think a lot of people are experiencing that nowadays because a lot of people go into this educational field, or not educational field, they go into this field without having education. A lot of people get these degrees that they don't end up using afterwards because it's so hard to get a job in that type of career, or they realize that there's not enough money in that type of career, so they end up doing something that is similar or something that is just easier to reach for.
Yeah.
Do you feel like what you're doing now correlates to your degree?
Absolutely. I mean, actually, take that back. Yes and no. I did go to school for marketing, and I think I would say what I learned in school just never, like, it's completely opposite of what I'm doing now. Now I'm actually in the workforce and I'm more working with it hands-on and more in depth versus in school where it's like, oh, this is what you'll probably see, when realistically never have seen it here, and I think a lot of times, I think in today's world, it's more of that analytical side of things that is missing in the marketing department in higher education. So
it's kind of something that's, I feel like, it's hard to teach because so many things happen in the real world that you can't experience in the
and I
classroom.
think that marketing, you say marketing, oh, I have a marketing degree, but it's not just one thing. Marketing, it's a ton of things into one, and it's always constantly changing, and you can't stick to just one thing and say, yeah, that's what works, because a couple hours later, you probably know this too, like it's changed, and especially in today's world with these influencers, I think it's become a lot harder
to catch up with them.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they're always working on it and they're always doing it. And I experienced it kind of when I went to school for journalism. Like, it was really hard to stay up with the news because one news station would get it before the other news station. And that was what created fake news, was that people were pushing stuff out there too fast to really go over it and check it and review it. And I think that's why here at 52 Launch, we try to take so much time and we put our clients through a 6-month program so that we can collect the correct data and really make sure that the people that we are targeting are the right people to be spending our money on. Because it's really scary to like throw all of this money out there not really be sure of how it's going to affect and
if it's going to be successful, if it's going to work.
Successful.
Yeah.
So it's definitely ever changing. You have to do all of this research, check it out in the market, scratch the research if it's incorrect, and do it all over again. And
it's called the learning period.
Yeah. And I think that it's a lot harder for some of our clients to kind of grasp that idea because we're throwing them kind of into, or they don't, nobody knows what's going on. We can't give anyone like a clear deadline or a clear number for their revenue.
Yeah.
And so I think that we're all kind of just like in a limbo of trying to figure things out.
Yeah, and it's not that we don't have like our clients' best intentions in hand. If they're successful, we're successful at the end of the day, and that's our main goal here at 52, especially in, the marketing department. Because, yeah, you do need to do that research. It is, an ocean of information that you need to, try to target the right people and try to find who the heck wants to buy this.
And that's why things like content, when we talk about research and everything, content is the education that we have learned from our research. And when we educate a population about our product and why they need it, they're more likely to buy it. So our research from my point of view is so that I not only know how to persuade someone into buying our product,
which is a good thing. The word persuade may sound a little,
it does sound a little manipulative and scary and not a good word to use. But that's sales, you're trying to like tell someone why they need something. And a lot of people don't know that they need something before they, there's so many things out there that I'm sure I need that I'm not going to know until...
An iPhone.
Yeah.
A great example is an iPhone.
Exactly.
Who knew we needed an iPhone?
Sometimes you don't even need an iPhone.
Yeah, but, we think we need it. And, I think Apple is a great example of, a company that's created a need that we didn't know we had. And that's essentially what kind of marketing is. So
yeah, it's definitely... That's a very, very good point. I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of our clients are creating something that people don't really know about yet. That's why 52 Launch was made, because we want people to be able to become entrepreneurs, and we want people to be successful, and we also want our consumers to be able to have these new products. So coming from like a marketing point of view, it is like very different and scary from, a corporate company that knows how to market their product because it's been around for ages.
Or the money.
Or they have the money to do it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like fun to play around with different ways we can target an audience, in different ways we can create a need for that product in the industry and really penetrate where it's going to be placed.
Yeah. And just going off that, going back to the content topic is, yeah, you have your sets of ads out there, trying to lure people in. You also need to create that content, so like Sarah said, you do have that brand loyalty where, they do feel connected to your product, or it may be just, you're posting like a story, about your product or how you came up with it. And maybe they just feel that connection with you. And they're like, I'm just going to keep buying this because I like that person. So
yeah. Social media is a great form of content. It's, I remember I took a marketing class in college, and they took our Instagram, for example. They said that your Instagram is how you're branding yourself. And the caption that you're writing is the content that you're putting with who you are as a person. And I loved thinking about that. And I think that's kind of why I wanted to get into like business and copywriting rather than journalism, because it's super easy to relate to that type of person that wants to, create themselves. And you're creating a product. So
yeah,
it's easy to like connect with a client about that.
Yeah. It's always nice to know. I know personally, like if I get served an ad and it's something new, I'll definitely click on it and go check out the Instagram page and see if, if this is legit, if there's like a person behind that product. What is their where is the passion? Like, why did they create this? And if I really like it, I'll
Yeah.
I'll buy it.
I feel like we definitely use like social media platforms here to legitimize our products and our clients and everything, rather than using it as content. But like most companies, when they become like big businesses, they use their Instagrams or their social media platform to just create like that brand identity and for people to like resonate with that product and everything.
Yeah. And then when it comes to like copyright, what is a strong copyright? Like, where does it shine?
I'll let you know when I figure it out.
when does it shine the most? You know, is it your website? Is it at the website? Is it in your post? Is it, you know, a quirky caption? What is it?
I would definitely say quirky caption falls under content, because it's more not really educational. It's more entertaining, and but I do think that captions themselves, like headliners, can be copyright. So there's a way to write a headliner. You really got to think about it, but there is a way to explain within one sentence, this is the product, this is why you need it, or this is why you need it. But that is the point of copyright, is to not make it fancy, not make it fluffy words or, you know, entertaining or funny, or give it a voice. It's to state why you need that product. And I think the best way to, or like where you're going to see this, is what you said, like website. I mostly work with website copy here because we are creating brands and everything. But in companies that have already been branded and are already like pretty far along, you're gonna see that in like email form, or SMS when you get sent text messages. I get Brightbox all the time. I don't even know what Brightbox is, but that's a great form of copyright, because they send me what Brightbox is doing, why I need Brightbox, and I guess they're not doing too great of a job because I don't know what it is, but but that's like a form.
Come on,
of
Brightbox.
Yeah, step up your game. But like that's what you do, and I think that was really relatable for me when it came to journalism, because journalism was like, you got to do it in a way that you tell people what's going on and why they need to know what's going on and how to protect themselves from what is going on, or how to, you know, change what is going on. So that's why it's just so much easier to come up with an exact equation for it.
So it's easier to come up with an exact equation.
I would say that copyright is like an equation and content is creative. You really got to think about what you're putting out there, unless there's already a voice that has been created. And then there's kind of more of an equation. And I feel like when I am writing when I talk to a client, I try to pick up that voice and that personality in them so that I can relate it to my copyright just a smidge, so that they feel like they can take on that voice and continue it. That was something I kind of struggled with, because I'm like, oh, I'm creating this voice, I'm creating this brand, and then when they go, I gotta let it go.
And do you think, like, why would you not let them kind of take full reign on the copywriting, but only give them like a few, you know, I know when you sit with clients, you sit with them and you go through everything, and I know there's certain things you can and can't change, and why don't you just give them that entire
reign of voice? So I think I've actually thought about that before, and that's why I started listening to my, you know, copyright podcast, because I'm like, oh, there has to be someone that's going to connect with me on that type of a feeling. But I think that copyright is something that if you don't know how to do it, you cannot put your word into it, and that's kind of how I explain it to our clients. Like, it is pure marketing and pure research and background and like consumerism in psychology and everything. But when it comes to content, I do let them have a little bit more freedom because content is something that they're going to be continuing with. It's something that's going to create the voice behind the purpose of the words.
Yeah. And let's say, what if a client like comes to you and says, you know, I'm putting out this content, but I don't feel like the copy is lining up with my voice. Then what would be your like action plan then?
Can you repeat the question?
So if like, you know, you meet with the client and you go over the copy, but then, you know, a couple months out, you know, they're posting on their Instagram and then they come back and, you know, they've reread the website and they're like, you know, this, or like the advertisements, and they're like, you know what, this just does not like mesh with my voice. Yeah. So like, I feel like it's not me. What would you say that?
Yeah. I kind of like came across that the other day when I was talking to one of our clients. I said like, I, you know, put my spiel out there and I say, so I wrote this from a consumer point of view. And now I kind of want to try to get your personality in there and your feeling and emotion and everything. And she goes, well, you don't know who I am. Like, how are you going to figure that out? And I go, that is a great question.
Let's talk.
I was like, well, I'm just going to hear what you have to say about this, why you created this product. And from there, I'm going to try to pick up on your emotion. And that's something that you can't really do. Like, it's, I don't know, people have personalities that you can't even see from a 30-minute meeting. And that, I think would be hard for a lot of people. It's hard for me, but I kind of enjoy picking up on a person's movements and how they talk and how they phrase things and their confidence levels in their product. And not that having like a little amount of confidence is bad or anything, but it just comes across as like who they are as a person, and whether I feel like that meets like their product. But I think that a lot of products come down the line and change depending on the client themselves. Yeah. So I think that once we kind of let them go and, you know, feel the market, then they can go back and change their copy if they feel like they're evolving and their product is evolving.
And would you say that, like, let's say a client doesn't do that, do you think copy does evolve? Would you say there's like a certain time that, you know, we should go in and revisit these copies?
Oh yeah. I think that copy like has to be changed because copyright is, you know, I take like the idea and then we do the analytical side and we grab the data, we see who we are targeting, and then you have to pick that audience and try to persuade them. So once you find your target audience, your copyright is definitely going to change because you're building an entire different equation to equal that audience that has already engaged with you. And then even so, you can think of like a new type of audience that you think might want that. Like there might be some skewed data that you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should try to write towards that type of a person. Yeah. So, I think that there's room for copyright to grow in a business, but I think that you have to have the research to do so before changing it. Whereas content, it can change whenever you really want it to. It's more of the client and how they feel about their product. I think so, at least.
Yeah. And would you say you can have a business without content?
You can, but it's gonna be dry and nobody's gonna buy. It's gonna be, I remember before I started working at 52 Launch, I was applying for a copyright position at this other company, and I like don't even know what they did. I think they had something to do with software, and they were also a startup. They've only been around for like 5 years. And I interviewed with one of the women. She said that she started out as a copywriter, and then she just worked her way into like purely only doing marketing and analytical sides. And she was like, our business isn't growing because we don't have content.
Yeah.
And she was the only one on her entire team that understood that, because she used to be a copywriter.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were doing like all these crazy different interview processes that were like so intense for, you know, like a content writing position. And I remember thinking in the back of my mind, like, this is ridiculous. Anyone can write a silly caption for your Instagram. Like, go hire a high school student that, you know, Gen Z knows what they're doing. But like, it didn't really like resonate with me how popular it was to be creative at writing, and how popular it was to entertain a client, until I had that interview with her. And that's probably why I didn't get the job, because she probably didn't see that I had that knowledge of understanding the importance behind it. But yeah, I think that a lot of copywriters are freelance because they get paid for writing one single blog that might show up on Google higher than their website page, because more people are like researching with trying to like how to paint my door, you know,
DIYs.
Yeah, DIYs. More people are going to be researching that than like researching like a door manufacturing company, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why content is important, because it's just like that other loop. It's that like cherry on top of your business that is going to bring you to the next level.
That's good.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Yeah. So I think that covers a lot of copyright versus content. I hope you learned something today.
I definitely did.
Cool. Well,
and we hope you all learned something.
Yeah, definitely. But that's the end of our podcast today. Thank you guys for watching.